Hey friends, it's Tracey from Tea Time with Tracey and Friends, and I want to do a reading wrap-up video. It is the 31st of May. I read a lot of books this month, a lot of books. So I'm going to try to do this quickly. I'm just going to dive right in. I read a lot of romance and some like horror-ish kind of books. So I'll start with, this was the most recent read, I think, Rotten Ruin and Dust and Decay. This is a YA, Jonathan Mayberry zombie series. I think there's 5 or 6 books in the series. I only read the first 2. I bought them used. It follows 2 brothers. This is 14 years after a zombie apocalypse kind of thing. They call them, what do they call them? Goblins or... No, that's a different one. They're like zombie kind of creatures. People turn into them and stuff. It follows 2 brothers. One brother is like 10 years older. So there's the youngest brother is like 15. The older brother is like mid-20s. And they've seen their parents die. The younger one was just a baby when this whole thing started. Around that age thing. Anyways, they're in like a little compound, safe town thing that's kind of protected, and there's different jobs for them to do. He's just getting to the age where when he turns 16, his rations are cut unless he has a job. So he's looking for a job, which kind of annoyed me because he was being a typical teenager. If you know, you know. But the older brother is like, he goes out and respectfully dispatches zombies to clear the area, sort of thing. So eventually the older brother offers to apprentice his younger brother. His brother didn't want to do it at first because he thought it was just going to be all about killing zombies and stuff, but there's a lot more to it than that. And anyways, he does start to apprentice with him. And there's a lot more scarier things out in the world than zombies. Just the people after the math, and different bounty hunters, and yeah, different things. These 2 books are full of like adventure. There is some heartache in it, some deep messages in this. This is the second series I've started of Jonathan Mayberry's. The first one, it was a trilogy. I forget what it's called. I'll put it here. But that was more adult for sure. The covers look scarier than the story actually is. There is, at the end of each book, there is like a world-saving kind of event. That small world that they're in, that they have to try to complete a certain task. But I would recommend it for YA horror if you have young adults or even older children. I would say this is safe for them to read. It's not too grotesque. It's not too emotional. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't know if I'll bother buying the other books. If I do, I'd buy them secondhand. But I bought these 2 or 3 years ago strictly because of the cover. And I liked it and I wanted to, you know, give it a whirl. Another zombie series I tried. What was the Purge of Babylon, The Stones of Angor, and The Gates of Byzantium. There is 5 or 6 books in this too, and I would love to get them. I see them on Audible. Like you can use one of your credits for books 3, 4, and 5, and then 6, 7, and 8, or whatever it is. I might do that, but I would want to get the paperbacks because I got the first 3 in paperback. Loved this. This is more adult than that other one. This follows a handful of different people, and the story is much more in depth. But the world, it's almost like a long TV series. And there is heartache. I grew so close to some of these characters in here. Some of them die. Some of them don't. But I'm scared to read the rest of the series because I don't want anything to happen to some of the people that I care about this. This is one where They do call them trolls or goblins or something like that. I forget now. And yeah, it's the people that are left over after a zombie apocalypse that are the really dangerous ones. Now, the zombie people are dangerous, but are predictable. But way more zombies than people. And they are actually trying to survive and getting mixed messages from people and radio broadcasts and stuff. I would highly recommend this if you want a zombie world. If you like The Walking Dead, if you like Black Summer, if you like those kind of shows, this 100%. This is the first time I've read this author. I don't know how to say his last name. Sisavath, I'm not sure, but really impressed with this. And they're big chunker books, but the spacing is good, and I seem to fly through them. I really did. When I find a series that I just, I can zip through it. Yeah. All right. There was one horror one here I did not finish. Peter Straub, The Hellfire Club. I picked this book to read because last month I read John Saul's Hellfire Club, and I thought, I'll read this one to see if I certainly like the John Saul one much better. I read most of this, and not to say I won't go finish it. It's just really complex, long-winded. There's a lot of characters in here, and not as much action for the amount. This could be like 150 pages shorter. So I'm not even going to try to explain this. It's too complicated. It doesn't really have to do with any kind of Hellfire Club that I can... It's just the name of a old club kind of thing. But I'm not really going to recommend it. Bought it for $3.99. A series I absolutely fell ass over tea kettle for. This is romance. So I had these books a couple of years. I did buy these new when I got them. I'm a big fan of Alice in Wonderland and retellings and movies and all the such. This is by C.M. Stunich. I've never read C.M. Stunich. This is a reverse harem. It's not as smutty as you think it's going to be. It's more adventure. There is spice and smut in it, but when you think of reverse harem, you think, it's going to be just all smut and, nothing else. No, there is more to this. There's more. If you're into fantastical adventure, Alice in Wonderland, this is perfect. There's sexy stuff all through it, but the actual doing the deed is not all through it. But when they do it well. And I'm not the biggest reverse harem kind of person, but it works in here. And I just had this on my TBR for this month, but after I was done this, I jumped right into these two, and I read one a day. Like, it was just, I loved it. I loved it so much, I was sad for it to end. And then I seen that C.M. Stunich has a branch off of this series. The first one is Allison's Adventures in Underland. Allison and the Torrid Tea Party is book 2, and Allison Shatters the Looking Glass. This one is The King's Underland. This pretty much picks up right where this third book in this trilogy leaves off. So if you do go into this, or you have read this trilogy before, this is the first book in a spin-off from it, but it has all the same characters in it. And I ordered this new, and I rarely buy new books, but I was like, I loved this series so much. I wanted it to continue. And it's the first book in the series. There's no other books out in it, but I will be getting the other ones eventually when they come out. And I want to try some more books from her. I'm assuming C.M. Stunich is a girl. I don't know. I don't want to assume anything, but she has a whole bunch of books out. She has a Wizard of Oz retelling one too. I'm like, I really want to get that. I'm not going to go buy it. Not now, but loved it. Or loved the stuff that I read. I'd love to try some other stuff of hers. Oh, there it is. I read these I'm starting to reread some of my books that I had read over 10 years ago, books that I've kept because I loved them. And I kind of forget the stories. I really do. I read the first and second book in the Game Maker series by Kresley. There's 3 books in this series. I think this is the first one, The Master, and then The Professional. Or maybe it's the other way around. I forget. I have one more, and I do have the book. I will probably read it this coming month. But this... these are quite smutty. The second one more so than the first one. Let me see. I'm sorry. Okay, I figured it out. I was just thinking I was getting this mixed up with other books that I was reading. This first one follows heiress to Russian, not so much mafia, but like one of those super rich, maybe oligarch or whatever they're called. I don't know. But the father didn't know about her. And when she's 18, he ends up finding out about her and is interested in getting to know her. So he sends somebody over, his trusted first person, and he comes over to the States to pretty much bring her back to Russia. And she was orphaned. She grew up in a nice family, but she was in university. And she knew she came from a Russian family, didn't know anything about it. Long story short, he takes her back to Russia, begrudgingly on her end, and to her father's compound. And, yeah, there's a little connection going on there. Anyways, really good. It's not super long. A really nice story with some spice. I wouldn't say nasty smut or anything, but some spice. Yeah, I love Kresley. I would recommend anything that she writes. This one is, all right, I got it mixed up. This is the one. This is the first one. This one. This one is with the daughter going over to Russia, and all that stuff with his sidekick. And, yeah, this is book 2. This one is more smutty than this one. This one is about a young lady. She's a student, and she's 19, 20, 21, I don't know. She is all by herself. She was married one time before to a very abusive man. Or no, somebody that cheated on her and who was a con artist and planned on murdering her. Anyway, she's on the run from him because he's vowed to kill her. So she is incognito. She made a new identity. She's going to school. And she doesn't have any friends except this one person who is a high-class escort. This escort friend couldn't make it this day for a date. And she convinces the main character in this book to take her place. Now, she has never done a job like this, but she's hard up for money. She's living in the slums because she's trying to hide and not stay in a place where she could easily be found. She ends up going, and she's not normally the type of woman that this guy is looking for, and he is the brother of the guy in here. So he's rich, powerful, Russian, and I actually listened to these on audiobook, because I've read them before, but I had them on audiobook too, and I just breezed through them. Anyways, he takes a shine to her, and she doesn't want to have anything to do with him after the first encounter. But she can't stop thinking about him, and this guy can't stop thinking about her. And he pretty much gets her to come back, which he never gets people to come back, and holds her there. She's not allowed to leave. And it goes from there. Anyways, it is a sweet story, but a sweet, smutty story if you're interested. I forget what the third book is about. I didn't even look at it. But it's been so long since I've read these. So long. I'm glad I have them. And I still enjoyed them. So, yeah. I've had these for a long time. This is the Anne Zary's. It's the Twist Me. I think it's called Twist Me trilogy. I read this. I actually read this on Audible too. I had bought this as a credit a couple of years ago because it was like all 3 books in one credit. But I had the paperbacks too. I was going to read along with them. Some of her books are hit and miss with me. I like some, I don't like others. This one is middle of the road for me. This would be considered kind of darkish romance. A super powerful guy who's into crime and stuff, has his own friggin' island and has his hand in governments and stuff. He comes across this young woman in a club, and he's not a clubbing type, but is fascinated with her, and he waits for her to graduate school, which is so nice, and ends up abducting her and taking her to his private island, and it's just him and his house carer there. And there's triggers for this because there's inappropriate things going on. I would say Stockholm syndrome, but I just didn't find it wowed me. I did read the whole thing. It was okay. Check triggers if you want to read this though, because the main guy in this, he doesn't give a at all in regards to, and she was a virgin too, I think. Like he just, there you go, you're mine now, la-di-da. All right, fella, you gotta slow your roll. Anyways, this was a reread for me, again, over 10 years ago. I have another series, most of the series of hers, Jacqueline Frank. This is Drink of Me. This is not a series. This is a standalone. This could have been a series, really. I read this so long ago, I couldn't remember. This follows, I forget what they're like. This world is made up of different tribes type of people with different genetic uptakes kind of thing. There's like, I say coyotes. They're not shifters or anything, just they're called coyotes. But their bite is poisonous and stuff. Anyways, they, at the beginning of this book, they have one of the, what the heck are they called? I can't remember what they're called, the main group. Anyways, they have one of the main group and are torturing this person. So the main group of people come to rescue him. Lo and behold, the main girl in here is holed up in the attic of this building where the coyote people are hurting the main group's person. And the main group people find her. She's small. She's not a coyote person. She's a different breed of person, but they don't know who she is. She's tiny. She, whatever. The main group of people in here are very telepathic and can read emotions and empathic. Anyways, I'm not explaining this very well, but the main leader of the main people, and the main character in here, I'm doing terrible at this. Anyways, it's an old book. I enjoyed it. There's a lot of care, like care trope, taking care of somebody and letting them heal. There's a lot of that in here, but it's a very savage book in regards to the wars and fights that go on here. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Another Kresley Cole book. Yeah, I've read this book. Gosh, I don't even know how many times. I haven't read it for a few years though. I just want to start off this series again. There's like 19, 20 books in this series. A Hunger Like No Other. I do have an old vlog on this. I'll put it down below if you want to learn more about it. But this was not on my TBR for this month. But since I read all of Lauren Donner's books, last month I read a whole bunch of them. I just had 2 left to do, which I read this month. I'm like, I'm going to read old series that I have the physical copies of to reread them to see if I still love them. I know I'm going to still love all of this, but I just kicked it off with that. This is the last 2 books in the New Species series. I think I read 15. I forget how many are in here. I read them all except these 2. last month. Smiley and Numbers. I forget what Numbers is. Anyways, this isn't technically shifter romances, but it's not paranormal, but it's like genetically altered people that were in a government experiment, and they have traits. Smiley's like crossed with chimpanzee, I think. Like he doesn't look like a chimpanzee, but he has certain skills. And Numbers is, I believe, wolf. I read these at the very beginning of the month, so I forget. I was on the Lauren Donner kick. Anyways, love this series. That series was a reread for me too, and I devoured that last month. I just didn't have enough time to read the last two. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. This was a new one for me. Devious Lies by Parker S. Huntington. I've never read anything by this person. This is a chunker. I really enjoyed this book. This is kind of enemies to lovers, not a whole lot. This is about, it starts off at the beginning on this rich estate. There's a family that works for this rich estate that lives on a separate building on the estate. The family that works for the big family has two boys that are older than the young girl who lives in the main house. Anyways, they grow up together kind of for a few years. So the kids get to know each other, and they get along for the most part. She's best friends with the younger boy. But as time goes on, turns out her family ends up betraying the whole town, and they were the type of family that pretty much controlled the whole town, and they ripped off the whole town. So after their childhood teen times, they went their separate ways, and the town was trashed. Like, it just was totally tore apart. Fast forward, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 8, 10 years, I forget now. She, the daughter of the big fancy family, although has a trust fund, she refuses to take it because she doesn't agree what her family did. So she is working job to job to try to pay her bills, and she's living in a little apartment. She's, working as a person that helps cater. Like, she's not cooking, she's like the waitress, you know what I mean? Things like that. Turns out the company that she works for hosts an event for the company. This guy, who was one of the two boys of the family living on the estate, who were the poorer family, he's the head honcho of this big company. So the roles are reversed now. And this guy wants to find out where her father is. But she doesn't know where her father is. But he doesn't know that she doesn't know. So there's a lot of manipulation. But attraction, because those two have a history. And I love this twisted game, this twisted book. And it was a good introduction to Parker S. Huntington. All right, I'm trying not to make this too long. I read 2 T.L. Swan books this month, The Casanova and The Stopover. The Casanova is a workplace romance. There's these two people, the head boss guy and the head of the tech area, the computer system. I think that's this one. Anyways, they don't like each other. They've worked together for years, but they bicker back and forth. He is the boss, and she is really good at her job, so he can't technically fire her because she's so good at her job. Anyways, one day he sees on the monitors she is working out in the gym in this workplace, and she looks totally different. He sees her from the back, and who's this girl and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, turns around and it's his person that he doesn't like it's an aggravating coworker. Anyways, he can't get that out of his mind. Like, that was her? That's hard to believe that was her. And anyways, they butt heads, but then they slowly come together and they try to keep it a secret for a long time. And then there's a fallout. And it goes from there. These are contemporary romances, very contemporary, rich, privileged people romances. This one is about, I think I like this. Do I like this one better? I don't know. They're about the same. The Stopover is about a stopover on a plane. There's this lady who was taking a plane. She got bumped up to first class because of some mishap, which, you know, awesome. She's sitting beside this hottie who is this guy. And she's nervous to fly because she's not used to flying. Anyways, they two chatted up and the plane ends up having to be detoured because of some issue. So there's a stopover. Lo and behold, the stopover, these two hook up and they don't see each other ever again, or supposedly they don't think. So a year later, she's going for her dream job application interview at another city. She gets the job and then she takes the tour of the building and goes up to the top of the building. And who do you think the head honcho is? This guy right here. So it's very uncomfortable, very awkward, but because they hit it off so well on the airplane, everybody at work doesn't see him as that friendly, charismatic, you know, spontaneous guy. They see him as a serious businessman. So the main character knows he's like that, but she doesn't want to jeopardize this opportunity for her main job, so she wants to keep it strictly professional. But you know how that goes in books. And anyways, they're both good. They're fine. I had a good time reading them. I'm glad I had them. And yeah, if you're into contemporary romance, that's what this is. This one I didn't finish yet. I was just starting, and I will finish this. It's called His Next Victim by D.W. Thomas. I've only got a little ways into it. I will read this though. I like what I've read so far. It started off with a lady who, it's her first time stripping at a strip bar because she's hard up for money, and her friend is a stripper. And I believe this has to do with almost like a abduction murderer. Yeah, this is the first of a series. I can't really say much about it. When I do read it, because I do want to finish reading it, I'll let you know. This is an apocalyptic end of the world kind of scenario. This main character, this is called The Wilderness Within, A Wilderness Within. This follows the main character. He is the protector of the President of the United States, and they're in a bunker. And everybody that was with them eventually caught the disease that kills everybody. There's not zombies, but everybody's just dying off. He ends up having to shoot the president because he has it, and the president insists on him shooting him because he doesn't want to die that horrible death. So after he does that, he's the last person. He hasn't seen anybody for months. He ends up leaving the bunker and wandering around. He's he's a soldier, like he knows how to survive and stuff. He stumbles across a lone woman who's trying to get food from a grocery store and hide from people. Oh, I can't remember. I don't think that there's creatures. I read this near the beginning too. Anyways, he ends up swooping in and saving her, but she's very reluctant to be with him because she's had past experiences with straggle people that try to take advantage of her. Women problems. And anyways, it's a slow romance, adventure romance. And I don't know if this is a series. This is by Emma Castle. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like mind-blowing. I've read better like dystopian books, but it is good. It was good enough. It was like a 3. 3 or 4. I'm terrible at judging, but yeah, I enjoyed it. All right, I'll try to do this quick. All right, I had Tempting the Beast and Elizabeth's Wolf on my TBR. Didn't realize this is book 2. So book 1, Tempting the Beast. Book 2, The Man Within. And then book 3, Elizabeth's Wolf. I'm not going to go into this too much. This is another series reread, although I didn't read these books. I've read a handful of the books in the series years ago, so I wanted to start off right from the get-go, from the beginning. So I bought them new, like Value Village and thrift books. So I've read the first 3 books. I think there's 33 books in this series. I have them now, but I haven't read them all. So this is a shifter romance. They can, some of them can shift, some of them can't. They're very erotic. There is a lot of spice in here, but the story kind of does go along, but I don't think you have to read it completely in order. Like this one is about a wolf man. He doesn't shift though. He just has the genetic things. These 2 are feline, like lion or panther or whatever. Feline breeds and book 1 and book 2. There's just, it's quite erotic in the sexual situations that are in these books. I'm liking it though. It's good. It's not overly. I'm going to continue with that book series, and I'll probably do a video on that series at some point. Okay, 2 more. No, 3 more. The Mindfuck series. I read all 4 of them. There's 5 books in here, but I've only read 4 of them, so I still have 1 more book in here. This is a bind up. So I have to read the last one. I just didn't have time to do it. So they're not long. I just haven't had time to do it. I will finish that this coming month. This is about a serial killer on revenge, and she ends up crossing paths with the FBI agent detective person that is investigating the serial killer. Lo and behold, he has no idea that she is the one doing the serial killing. She has good cause to do it though. She does. And I don't actually know how it ends yet, so I'll let you know about that. Last but not least, another TL Swan book. Mr. Spencer. This is probably my least favorite out of those 3. Those 2 are in a series, the Miles High Club. This is this is the Masters series. I've read Mr. Masters, which I did like. That was a couple years ago. Have a video on that. This is Mr. Spencer, and then there's a Mr. Garcia, which I haven't read it yet. This follows Mr. Spencer, who's a big playboy, mega bucks, successful guy. He meets a young woman at a wedding who is a guest, but she has security people around her, and she's very delicate and light, and turns out she's an heiress to a billionaire, and nobody can seem to get to her because she's way out of everybody's league, even though she's meek and mild. Anyways, he ends up getting her out from under the protective people for a minute at this wedding, and they share a kiss. And she's never been kissed. She is straight up innocence, if you know what I'm saying. And he's determined to try to go on a date with her and sweep her away. She's an adult after all, though she's not a child. Why can't she go do that? Anyways, it was good, but the entitlement in this book really did not work for me. This is a nice picture, but the problems in this book, I'm just like, oh, for crying out loud. You guys don't know how lucky you are, kind of thing. But it was all right. It was okay. One last book. I don't have the actual book of it. It's the prequel to this series. I forget what it's called. I'll put a picture up here. It's the prequel. It's just 200 pages maybe. I read that via ebook. So it's the Immortals After Dark series, and big fan here. Anyways, I want to wrap this up. This is probably longer than it needs to be, but I was trying to rush through it. But I had a really good reading month, and yeah, I don't regret it at all. I have a big laundry basket full of books I want to read this coming month. Whether I get to them all, I don't know, but I will do a separate video on that. Anyways, I'm going to say peace, love, and happiness today and every single day. Please like, share, and subscribe if you so choose, but if not, that's okay too. I still love ya. I still want all the happiness in the world for each and every one of you out there. I certainly do. I really, really honest and truly do. Yes, I do. So, okay, guys, with that, I'm going to say have a good night or have a good morning, and I will see you sometime soon. Bye. Boink.